from the secret files of Teletraan 2.
Hello everyone, and it is time, finally, to talk comics. It's been a while. How has everyone been? How's the family? How's the wife and kids? Yes, there have been numerous delays in IDW's publishing. Not just in Transformers, but across the board. So we basically all got hit by it, and since we've been doing Double Up, and if we didn't do this, we'd just have to do another show after the end of IDW. To catch up, I figured we'd stick to the 2-4 format. So, joining me today is Batman.
That's not true. I'm not Batman.
Are you Rick Grayson?
I am not. I am not Rick, spelled with a C and no K.
But Andy, Rick Grayson.
Does anyone who's called Rick? Does anyone have the K missing? Because I've never seen that before.
I have.
I thought when you wrote that down,
of...
I thought you were taking the piss because I was like, Mikey must have made a spelling mistake because there's no way they would have done that because that's stupid.
Andy, have you seen the panels?
Of the comic? No.
Yes, where I basically find it, I'd look at those panels and you suddenly realize where DMC Dante went after he was told there was no sequel.
Oh no.
Yeah. Hey guys, read Nightwing. But yeah, we're not talking about the slow return of Dan Didio's madness. We're talking about Transformers, and this month we have 4 main comics for you. We have Lost Light 23 and 24 and Optimus Prime 23 and 24. And if you're going to stick around for Patreon, you'll get Unicron 4 plus 5. Those are linear numerical sequences.
It's true.
So we're going to open up with the Lost Lights, since they're the most standalone, and it's Lost Light 23, following on from the revelation that Rung is literally God. So, Primus is tearing apart the replica Cybertrons. Meanwhile, Whirl is kind of voicing everyone's opinion on, like, Rung is God. And then Nautica tells everyone to shut up and maybe let Rung talk for himself. And he reveals that having heard the name, having been made aware of it, and the fact that he can regrow his limb, he now remembers that, yes, he is actually Primus. Ratchet is, a bit dubious, saying like your serial number is 100 million. That's not exactly going to say you're number 1. And he said, and he said like you're making a mistake everyone always has, which is you're reading it upside down. It's the right way round when I'm in alt mode. When in that way the serial number is 1, which really drives home the point that you should always have those little accents and stuff. That little fancy Roman numeral, that little fancy sort of like Times New Roman 1 going on. Because if you just have the line, it could be anything. So we find out the history of the Guiding Hand. They came into being at the beginning of Cybertronian civilization. They were the original Cybertronians. They served as leading figures around the growing populace, and things went fairly well until Adaptus decided that we weren't adapting enough. And where organic species, the way they adapted was by going out there and murdering everything. So he said, let's go out there and murder stuff. The rest of the Guiding Hand objected and drove him off. On his escape, he stole a moon. And also made a contingency plan. He blasted Cybertron with some sort of weapon with the intent of erasing the population's minds, more or less. What happened was Rung got in the way, or Primus got in the way, and absorbed a lot of the energy, or as much as he could. And the result was information creep was born. The fact that Cybertronians' memories only have a certain lifespan for perfection, and once you get beyond a certain point, we get into the realm of folk tales. And Rung, very interestingly, we find out why no one remembers his name a lot of the time unless they get to know him real well, which is he became terminally forgettable. People find it really hard to keep Rung in their mind. He explained, Adaptus continues on that he found the Warren, he decided he would travel around, he saw his grand plan that needs to be made, making his Cybertrons to fight Primus, etc., etc. And where Flame points out this grand plan is not really going well because his great fleet of self-regenerating ultimate alt mode infinites, weird baby Cybertronian coffin things, are getting their shit kicked. Because you know what, having a million alt modes doesn't help you when you're fighting a planet. Adaptus is about to take some action, but Tyrest, who, like Rung, has had all his memories return, is not happy because, one, he lost his sense of self, and two, he was a religious nutjob who drilled into his own brain he was so dedicated to the idea of the guiding hand. And he launches himself at Adaptus. It starts off a bit violent, but Adaptus very quickly draws in the upper hand, including Pharma's chainsaws. As he's about to bisect Tyrest, or Solomus, whichever you prefer, Pharma's consciousness comes to the fore very briefly, giving Tyrest a chance to drill into Adaptus's forehead with his fingertips. The result is that both of these ancient Cybertronians die at the same time, and presumably, because they are just so ancient, they fall to dust as they die. There is no body left. There is no grey. Rodimus then uses Solomus's hand, or Tyrest's hand, because obviously that was left behind, to activate a teleporter to send him over to the Lost Light, then uses a ship to come back and rescue everyone from the World Sweeper. On the ship, they basically have to come up with a way of stopping Primus. A lot of people are kind of suggesting, hey, Rung, you're God. And Rung is like, we're not God, I'm just a guy. I'm a very old guy who's been through a very bad time. The Magnificence, on the other hand, which we found out is actually one of the guiding hand themselves, it's Optimus, speaks up and says that Rung has one job in this. He can make photonic crystals, which you find inside the Matrix. He created the Matrix originally. And what he needs to do is make 3 matrices. He'll then give these to Rodimus, Ratchet, and Tailgate, who will destroy the Functionist Primus's brain transformation cog and Vector Sigma, because biologically, because of the alterations the Functionist made, it's essentially a person. Everyone thinks this was a really weird plan, especially when Tailgate's included. But it turns out Tailgate's in there because the Matrix is locked by something called the Morality Lock, which we've heard about, but no one's delved into. Cyclonus, naturally, is saying this is a fucking stupid plan. And then Optimus starts acting weird. And he starts talking about himself in a strange fashion, and he says, listen, we are the only reason you have Tailgate back. We brought him from Madiri. We made Ratchet start to disappear so everyone thought he was dying. And we were even able to talk through 10 to get you all here in the first place. You are all meant to be here. Primus is drawing in. Megatron is thinking he needs to leave to his ship, but Rodimus refuses to let them split up because he thinks, as a group, they're more unified together. Unfortunately, the Last Light gets smushed, more or less, or blown up, I can't remember which. And the Magnificence clearly isn't happy with a new plan that's suggested, which is make 12 matrices and go to the various hotspots across Functionist Cybertron, overload them, destroy the computer, destroy Functionist the Functionist Council. No one has to blow up a planet full of innocent people. And the Magnificence kills Freud, Sunder, and 9 of 12. And then it turns out that the voice coming out of the Magnificence is no longer Optimus, it's the Omega Guardians, who are a race of higher realm organics who rose above everything, a la every sci-fi ever. It turns out that the Warren is actually the remains of one of them that attempted to cross back into the physical plane. They want back. The Benzene Cluster, possibly because of all the time travel nonsense, is a unique point where if you open a rift by, like, destroying a planet, they'll be able to find their way back in. And what will they do when they come back? They will literally eat everything. And they're mocking everyone for saying this is a stupid plan and we'll stop you. And then they stop mocking when Nickel smashes the Magnificence in her hand, presumably cutting off their link to this realm. Yeah. And in the end, as Megatron orders Crankcase to take the Lost Light in on Primus, the crew decides it's time to save the universe one last time. And that is issue 23. I forgot to say the art credits on this. Jack was back for this one, for the art. James doing the writing, Joanna doing the coloring, Tom B. Long doing the letters, and editing was David Mariotti. Or David Marriott. I don't know how to pronounce your name, David. I've never heard it. Andy.
Yeah.
Rushed?
I would call this a fucking mess. I hated this issue. It gave me a headache when I finished it. Like, no kidding, no hyperbole. I came away with a headache after this.
Okay, so have at it.
Where do you want me to start?
Wherever you want.
Oh, there's so many places, and you'll need to correct me on stuff if things were mentioned in earlier issues, which I have not remembered.
Everything in here is mentioned in earlier issues.
Right.
But things like the Omega Guardians, they were first mentioned in Spotlight Hot Rod.
Yeah.
And then they were mentioned by Wipeout, I think, in one issue. It was either Wipeout or the Collector fella.
So really significant things that people will know offhand.
Yeah,
really significant stuff.
Hey, do you remember the time Windblade said Vigilum? And everyone was like, who? And there was a little box saying, read Transformers Revolutionary to know that this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that in this book.
A lot, and most of it wasn't referenced, as far as I could tell.
Mm.
We have a massive... Let's start off with the Farmer and Tyrus fight, since that's fairly easy to pick up on. Massive exposition dump to end with them being put back into the bin very quickly. They contribute absolutely nothing to the comic. They're there to tell you the things that you need to know in theory, and then they're gone. They leave no lasting impression. Their existence within the comic feels meaningless apart from to give you that exposition. Did anyone give a shit that they died? I didn't.
This run of issues has had a lot of deaths that no one really acknowledges very much.
Yeah, and the fact that they turned into dust as well. Like you say that they're very old, so they did that. There is no explanation. That is an assumption that you made. There is no explanation to that. And I think it's the first time we've ever seen Transformers explode into clouds of dust before, right?
Yes, and I would also say Farmer's body should be relatively new.
Yeah, there's no reason that should happen to Farmer. It makes absolutely no goddamn sense. Absolutely no sense. The fact that that Rung is a god, and now because he's been told he's a god, he's like, oh yeah, I remember. That feels to me like James has pulled out this idea from his ass. It really does, because it's not it to me, from what I remember, and like you said, this could be like really minor things that were mentioned years ago and not really picked up on ever again. But it doesn't feel like Rung has earned the right to be called a god or the first Transformer. And Mikey, what have people said for ages that like Rung is an analogy of or a representation of James Roberts? Is that fair? People have said that before.
People have said that about. I think that came from the design, and then I think was it Alex who said that he designed them after Brett Spiner?
I can't remember.
So if he looks like James, it's a coincidence, but he is like James's original character. He goes all the way back to the book he did. Names escape me. The book that made him really well known. The UK family.
Yeah.
Like Rung is old.
Whether he is a representation of James or whether it's James's first character, I'm not sure which is worse. Probably if it was a representation of him. Either way, to make that character the first Transformer, to me, that sounds super fanficky. You know, I've got this OC character who's going to be in Transformers, but he's the very first Transformer. That's something that you'd find in a Sonic the Comic OC character. At least to me, that's how I feel about it. And they kind of waft the hand away of... So you remember how we've killed off Rung before, and it's been fine. This is the reason for it. It wasn't just like dodgy writing or to be there for a way to make the audience care and go, oh, look, they've killed off Rung, and then just to bring him back. It wasn't for that, and it was because he was a god. Does that not sound a bit suspect and a bit silly?
I will save my opinion for when you're done, but I firmly believe this was always the case.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
From day one, I think, for one thing, I know that he said like he has like the draft he gave over originally was like this is where the story's going.
Sure.
From day one, but I am like 100% certain Rung was always like I think we were always headed down a version of this road. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Megatron and the functions and everything else, I can't guarantee they were always part of it. But my issues with this are not to do with Rung being God.
Right. I mean, this is one of the problems I had. That, you know, obviously, like having a Ray to make everybody forget again seems really Deus Ex Machina. Right. You know, it's like, oh, Adaptus has this Ray that will that will shoot Rung, and everyone will forget him. He'll forget who he is until this moment where they'll all remember because someone mentioned it to them. Again, that seems really shitty to me. That seems like a really bad bit of writing. You know, hey Mikey, did you actually know that you're God?
Yes.
I mean, an actual God, not an ego God.
Technically, Rung isn't either. He's just an old fart.
What else? Oh yeah, we had like you said, what's the psychiatrist, the dude that eats memories, and what's
Freud and Sunder.
Yeah, they just get off, and it again. No one gives a shit. They just get killed. Doesn't matter. Oh, Piston. Yeah, he's not actually Piston. He's these other things. They've controlled everything up to this point. How? Don't worry about it. They made Ratchet teleport really slowly. How did they do that? Don't worry about it. They just did. They're really powerful, so they're able to do it. You don't need to worry about it. Trust me. They're a really big threat, though. Oh no, never mind. Nichols destroyed the thing, and they're gone. It's fine, Mikey. Don't ask questions. This whole thing relied on their this magnificent telling everyone what they needed to know, which was what the thing did for ages, and now it just happens to be a conduit to these things that live in another dimension or something.
Cute, basically.
Yeah, it's like, really? That, again? I hated this comic. Hated it.
Not your favorite issue of the book.
No, I'm gonna give it an incredibly low score because it just feels unearned. It doesn't feel like... It doesn't feel like any of the things that were set up were justified to making the things happen.
Is this one of the moments, like in an Angry Joe video, where you're coming out full costume and just stripping down really serious and just saying you done fucked up?
This is where I come out as Angry Joe and start beating up other Joe because he's a poor innocent boy and I need to take my frustrations out on the innocent.
Screaming, boy!
Get on the roof to do a stunt. I don't wanna. Get on the roof to do a stunt, Joe!
I'm Spider-Man!
Take your top off! Get your titties out for the show.
That happens with disturbing regularity.
It does. That's why I wanted to throw that in.
Right. So I think that I was going to say if there's other levels or anything else, but I think that's your opinion on the whole thing.
For the most part, I mean, if you can counter any of the things I've brought up, I'd be more than willing to listen to them, because I'm sure I may have missed some things.
Okay,
or
so
forgotten.
I don't know its counter. Like, I think this issue is very flawed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to give it a very low mark. What this says to me is that James was a poor self-editor.
Okay.
All of these ideas, I actually don't mind any single one in isolation. Right? Rung being God doesn't bother me.
It's the execution, right?
The execute, but yeah, that's the big issue for this whole issue. I did it there. Execution is a problem because, like, Rung being God, I don't mind. Like, sure. Okay, it explains a lot of stuff because there's been a running mystery of what Rung was from the get-go. Adaptus and Tyrese being the guiding hand, and them dying as, like, ye oldie, we're vaguely sci-fi dust clouds. Okay, that's fine. Omega Guardians being the guys who presumably have been beaming the maps into the brains of Thunderclash and Rodimus and everything else that's been going on. That's fine. Functionist, fine. The problem here is that they are all happening in one single issue.
That too doesn't help.
Structurally, these are all things that deserve 2 issues minimum to themselves. At least one. Like, Rung should have had an entire issue, which was him learning he's wrong, learning he's Primus, coming to grips with what he's Primus, everyone freaking out. Adaptus, why he's telling him, is he only having him here because he thinks it's funny to have this guy who no one remembers? Why is it, if no one can remember him, that people do remember him? Because, like, he's hard to remember, he's not impossible to remember.
Yeah.
And so on and so on and so on. James came in after Unicron was announced, not too long ago actually, and he said that he knew Unicron was coming around issue 12, and that meant a lot of his stories got chopped down because he was writing a 4-year story, right? So the Scavengers were originally going to have a 5-part story that might have come in around the end of this run. That got chopped down to 2. We would have seen more of the Lost Light crew. We would have seen more of Detsaurus and Nickel. We would have seen more of our main characters. My old complaint for a lot of this book was that we spent so little time with these guys. It's picked up, obviously, in these last 6 or 7 issues, but still. But what we have here are all the plot points he's been building up all these years. And now he's told he's got... 12 issues to 14 issues to wrap it all up? And instead of going, right, this is important, need to deal with this, need to deal with this, he said, these are my original ideas, and it feels to me, he said, these are my original ideas. I'm not changing them, but they've all got to happen in the space of 5 issues. And when I came away from this issue, it was like, everything is in there. And it's too much. Like you said, it overloads your brain. An easy one, like the Grand Architect, right? Why not just make a change to the story and make Scorponok the Grand Architect for that 2-parter?
Sure.
Because that's what that story felt like it was saying.
Yeah.
You're on this time scale, all right, but it still works for that story. It still works for a lot of the Grand Architect ideas because they never really felt connected to what was going on anyway.
No.
Wrong. Okay. Feature Getaway in this more. Getaway got rushed out of here very quickly, in my opinion. Getaway should be in Tyrest's spot, or Getaway should be in Flame's spot. Make a 3-issue arc. Don't spend 3 issues figuring out we're on a planet and this planet is cyber utopia and then no one caring because no one has time to care because we need to get all this in. Spend an issue, maybe 2. Then add an extra issue onto this whole thing, and then make the last 2 or 3 issues exclusively the Functionist arc. I'm slightly concerned that issue 25 has been confirmed to be a wrap-up issue, when I feel a lot of that is space you kind of needed. Everything is jammed in here, and it hurts every aspect. None of these story elements work as they should have. Rung is turned into an exposition machine, because someone needs to get this out there, because I've got 3 or 4 pages to do this, and then I've got to get it on the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. And they're huge concepts. The Omega Guardians obviously took the biggest hit of the lot. Because, really, they get pulled out of your fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when they're mentioned, because I am basically this podcast equivalent of Charles. I remember these things. But I had to go looking. I was like, I know that name. That name's been mentioned a few times. Okay, I remember it being mentioned in the Scavenger thing, but I've heard it before then. Oh, it's connected to Hot Rod. It's connected to Magnificence. That's why these two are linked. But, why then did he want why did the Magnificence lead the Scavengers there in the first place? Because the Scavengers have nothing to do with this part of the plot. And the Omega Guardians just like, and then done. And they're just like, you've just introduced the idea of otherworldly beings, as all sci-fi does, which is eventually introduce magic into your sci-fi.
Yeah.
And then pretend it's science, which is what anyone doesn't know. Anytime they've done Ascension and all that stuff, it's just magic. It's not real. It's like psychic powers. They're not real, but if we put the word sci-fi in front of it, we're allowed to pretend it's science. And you've just introduced a huge concept. This thing that's been a big central point to a lot of plot points. Like the Warren is one of the best laid plot points in this run because it's coming up constantly. It's the body of a dead god, an actual god, more or less. And it's rushed through. And then, yay, Grandma Nickel saves the day because she's never done anything wrong.
Nope.
It's fine. Nickel's fine. I'm not happy with Nickel lately. I think it was the fact the Lost Lights art competition or art thing on Twitter came up and loads of pictures of Nickel being and I'm just like, she's a monster.
Yeah, she's fine with murder.
She's not fine with murder. She's fine with the worst kind of torture.
You know what she reminds me of? You know that anime where you have that cute little girl who is a sniper murder killer person? It's a newish one. Yeah. It kind of that. Yeah. But if everybody said she was a darling, and it's like, no.
Yeah, but like Nickel bugs the crap out of me just because both the story and the fandom have kind of construed her into something she very much isn't. Don't forget, Nickel is key point. Nickel is unrepentant. She's not having a Megatron moment of realizing the wrong she's done in the world. She is proud of what they did, which also included biting someone's brain out of their skull and shoving it into their mouth.
Yeah. It's fine.
Nickel's a dick, and I need her to explode.
It's fine.
I need someone to shoot her. But yeah, get off that rant. All these core ideas work for me in isolation, and if they had the time I think they were originally intended to have. I got the feeling we were going to be getting a bit of this when Getaway went, but I didn't expect an issue like this, because this issue is to make way for 24 to have more room to do its thing. Which means they have to pile everything in here, because they've only got 24, because 25 is a wrap-up issue. Which I think this book needs. I think a book with a 5 or a 6 or a 7 or however many years it's been now, lifespan needs a wrap-up issue. But James needed to say, these are my stories and this is what I have to let go. Because I have to let some of this go. Did we really need Rung to turn out to be God? Alright, you were planning that all along, but you could have done something simpler. Like, the mystery of Rung, the big reveal about Rung was there wasn't actually anything that particular about him. Right? He made the Matrix. His alt mode makes photonic crystals. That's all the mystery had to be. We didn't then need all this exposition. That would have been grand on its own, except it's in a book where we're jumping from exposition point to exhibition point to exhibition point? You know what I mean? Exposition point. And it hurts the book. It does hurt the book quite a bit, which is a shame, because like I said, individually, I actually like most of these concepts. I've never been crazy about, like, all higher beings in sci-fi, because that's just you saying I want to write a magic story, and I don't want people to laugh at me. But it's fine. These are fine ideas. I would have liked a lot more time with Tyrese post his revelation. Like, what it meant to someone who did the stuff he did for the reasons he did it. But yeah, I am critical of this issue, but not, I think, to the point of view, because I think the core story elements are good, and I think they're executed well enough for what they are, but I think they're executed in a way which is someone who couldn't let go of his pet project or the bits of it he really should have. So that's kind of my overall take on it.
See, I don't think you can. I mean, you can if you want, but I don't think you can give it a slide for what could have been. You need to kind of look at what is and what has been done, and sure, the ideas could have been good, but they're not. They have not been implemented well. They have not been done to the quality that they should have been, and it makes this a mess, a horrible, horrible mess of just things being thrown in together for no particular reason. Like you said, a lot of this stuff maybe should have just been edited out and dropped and not focused on at all. Just been like, okay, I know I have 12 issues. What can I focus on? What's the main thing I want to do with these 12 issues I've got left to do? And just focus on them and then cut the rest of the chaff. That wasn't done. And it feels like there was so much meandering through Lost Light as well. I don't want to get too much onto what Lost Light is as a comic series, but just briefly, that there's been so many, this feels pointless, or this wasn't worth it, this wasn't worth the amount of issues it took up, it was taken up, to then arrive at this and be like, we're rushing things now. You know what I mean?
Lost Light is a book that was very clearly assuming it had more time to play with. Would be how I'd put it. And I always thought that, but I always thought it was just not well used time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. This is gonna be a hard one for me to rate. I will not lie. So, Andy, I'm gonna ask you what your rating is. How bad? 2. Wow.
2 out of 10.
I was gonna say how bad it was, but 2. That's pretty not good.
It's a fucking mess. It's a fucking mess. Nothing matters. Everything's rushed. And I'm not satisfied with any of the things that were given in this issue. Like, was the serial number thing mentioned earlier?
I knew his serial. Okay, so the serial number was from issue 2
of Lost Light.
Of Mord Meets the Eye.
Oh my fucking god! Who the fuck, apart from people like you and Charles, remembers that? How many fucking normal people remember this horse shit?
Yeah. What was that scene? It was Rung had his arm taken off by Cyclonus and World.
Right.
And he's saying, like, oh, this is my first time ever operating you on you. And just like, oh, Ratchet, I've heard so many wonderful things about you. And then Ratchet starts banging on his hands because they're cramping up. But also, like, your serial number is 100 million. Oh, that's impressive. Or something like that. I think it was issue 2. I'd have to double check, but it was early Mord Meets the Eye.
Oh my fucking Christ. It's not like I'm your mum coming into the start of Game of Thrones episode 1 and then by 10 minutes later say, "Ooh, who's that character?" It's the main fucking character, mum. For fuck's sake, you just saw him. What's wrong with you? He's just had a slight haircut. Jesus Christ. It's not that.
She's just there for the boobs.
Oh my god.
So you're not happy.
No.
Is what you're saying.
2.
And you're... Because but the way you were talking, like, I honestly thought that was going to annoy you so much you're going to say 1.
I was tempted, but, you know, I was really tempted, but I thought, you know what? The art's not terrible.
No, I think, like, I've got to give huge credit to Jack. Like, freehand, his art will never be my taste.
No.
But the guy has really developed his style from issue 1.
And that's why it's not 1, because I think he has improved from where he was. I still, like you, I'm not a big fan of his artwork, but I don't think he deserves to be drugged down to a 1 for this mess.
Right, there is Andy's concise and rather restrained opinion.
Fuck. I am the Yoshi of this episode.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Have you heard his opinion? I haven't. What did he think of this issue?
Oh, Yoshi hates everything.
Okay, good. Me and Yoshi, hand in hand, we kiss and make out.
We love you. We don't.
He don't listen, fuck.
For all we know, he does.
Nah.
I know Jeremy does. Hi, Jeremy.
Jeremy's good people, though, so.
You're pretty. You're very pretty.
This is where Jeremy is having horrible flashbacks to the same issue that he talked about. Just, oh, fuck, here we go.
Oh, man. I don't know if they reviewed... I know that last one I think they did was a Unicron issue, but I need to check if they reviewed 23. Just because I can just hear Charles ringing out fats and people flip out. Because that happens a lot. But I will give this issue... I've been thinking about it for a while, to be honest. My initial one was a 7, like after I first read this, because like I said, I like the core ideas.
Wow!
And it's
7! Jesus Christ!
like I said, I like the core ideas, but
Okay.
it's been dropping pretty much every week since I've had it.
Okay.
And we've had time. I'm currently somewhere between a 4 and a 5.
Okay.
I'm not sure really which one I want to go for. 5, I think, because would be if it's average, but I do think it's hurt too much.
Mhm.
So I'm going to drop to a 4. Which is a shame because all in all, I've been enjoying this ending. Like I've noticed the flaws before, but it hasn't really hit me hard. This was the first issue where it really felt like James was just not letting go of stuff,
Yeah.
and he should have been. So I'm gonna go with 4. It was a problematic issue. I saw a lot of people like flip the fuck out about this being an amazing issue. I think it made the top of the buy pile that month.
Really?
Rider.
Jesus.
Yeah, like More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light have been in the buy pile pretty much since the get-go. RID dropped out after Dark Cybertron, I remember, and hasn't come back. I don't read that buy pile as much as I used to, but I do check it like when a Transformers issue comes out.
To each their own.
Yeah. For the opinions of the guy on the buy pile, check out Transmissions. He was on it a while back.
Mhm.
What's Hannibal Tau, I think his name is?
Lecter.
No, I don't think it's Lecter. It's definitely Hannibal.
Lecter.
I think it's Hannibal.
Best time.
But yeah, so we've got 2 and a 4. Not exactly our highest rating,
No.
it has to be said. But yeah, I will say I will very happily nowadays, and I didn't think I'd say this with issue 1. If Jack started coming back for stuff in the future, I would be pretty happy. Particularly if it was stories I think that really worked with his art style,
Okay.
which Lost Light doesn't always do. Narratively speaking, I mean. But it's not. We mentioned it there, but I think the guy does not get credit for evolving his style as much as he has. Like, you know, I see proportion issues every now and then still, but compared to that first issue where I think Tailgate's upper body was basically the size of Cyclonus's,
Yeah.
and his feet were about the same size as mine, it was a bit odd. But yeah, we're gonna leave that one, and we're gonna jump on to issue 24. Which is a follow-up. Guys, Crucible Part 6, Part 5 even. Written by James, art by Brendan Cahill this time. Colored by Joanna, Tom B. Long, and David are all back. And also publisher by Greg Goldstein. Isn't that the guy who owns IDW? I never thought about that.
No idea.
So we're back on The Lost Light, and Tailgate has a question about their 12 matrices plan, which is, So you want to use 12 matrices and 12 hotspots, all linked, to blast the inside of this guy and basically murder everyone on the inside and save the world. Yep, that's the plan. Are they connected now he's a robot? And we do get like what might be my favorite panel in the book, which is just Rodimus, we've made a planet-side mistake.
Oh.
I've done a horrible thing. The only problem with that is that it was Brendan's face art has never been my taste, so that I'd rather that was Jack.
It's so off model.
It's weird. He does some weird stuff. Meanwhile, Rung is going off with Chrome Dome and Rewind to make his matrices, and he's acting a bit odd. He's saying that they're lucky to have each other, and they need to forgive themselves. And then he goes into his room and looks like he's having a breathe moment. Meanwhile, Crankcase is dodging fingers, which is something I think anyone on a night out will agree with.
What?
But a mysterious energy surge is going on, and behind Primus's head, the warren opens, and something comes flying through. It's the moon! Yep, Luna 1 showed up with Fort Max, Red Alert, Cerebros, those two guys from the Circle of Light who wouldn't leave. And they bonk Primus on the back of the head out of nowhere and activate his transformation cog, which puts him back in planet mode. The Functionist Council, not happy with this. But back in Rung's room, he is looking at his patient files and takes a moment to pause and think of Skids, and then deletes all his patient files. And that was when I realized where this was going, because why is he deleting his patient files? Because he won't be around to prevent people from accessing them. Because he's a psychologist or psychiatrist, whichever way it is. Turns, they're different things. I don't care. He transforms and starts blasting out matrices. Rewind and Chrome Dome are hugging in a very sad way. I wonder why. Rodimus comes up and says, "Is he done? We need these. Is he done?" He goes in to get Rung, and the entire place is covered in dust. And there are 12 matrices. I'm going to keep doing that.
You know why? Why it was a sad hug?
Why?
Because sometimes you get too excited too quickly, and no one's satisfied.
No, Andy, no, not the canoodling.
Yep.
But yeah, all that's left of Rung, apart from the fact they're literally crawling through his corpse, is his glasses.
How big is his fucking corpse? How much dust is there that's specifically not on the place where he would have died, but on the floor?
Maybe it's like really thin layers.
That's not thin. Look how thick that is up against the bottom of the chair. And there's none on the bench. Oh no, there is. It's everywhere. Fucking hell. How much is there? He's not that big. Jesus
Andy,
Christ.
let it go. Wait until Megatron dies. It'll just be like, it'll fill the entire room to the top. But yeah, so speaking of Megs, he's laying out the plan. Flame has contacted the Grand Architect's troops. The Infinites are going to take them to the 12 hotspots. They are going to defend them from the Functionists' armies until they can launch a synchronized assault on Vector Sigma. If they don't do this on the go at once, the Council will have time to react and sever the hotspots. So we need to do it, and we need to do it fast. And that's a great plan, except they've all got a lock in them. They are all morality locked, which turns out to be how the Matrix works. You can't open the Matrix unless you think you're a good person. Or at least you feel like you're a good person. Misfire sort of says, "I've done good things, you've done bad things." Oh my god, yes. I like Misfire. But Brainstorm, Whirl, and the rest are kind of trying to figure this out until the voice of reason clocks in, which is Grimlock, where he just yells, "Not everything has to be a conversation. Just pick the best of us."
I think that's a good example, and James should really remember that for the future.
So yeah, and Rodimus says picking the best isn't as, grey as, black and white as it used to be, but he says, if I call your name, you're getting a Matrix. And the guys with the Matrices who are being dropped down onto the hotspots by the Infinites and one Guardian are Tailgate, guarded by Cyclonus, Ratchet, guarded by Drift, Thunderclash, guarded by Spinister, First Aid, guarded by Crankcase, Nautica, guarded by Brainstorm, and they hold each other's hands because you're probably gonna die. Lug, guarded by a Node. Thank Christ it wasn't a Node. And they kiss in this and say they love each other. kissing has stopped being remarkable in these books because literally everyone is doing it. And I think it's hotter when RC and Aileron do it, to be completely honest. And they're a nicer couple, in my opinion, because I don't hate one of the members. Anode's a bad person. Swerve is being guarded by Misfire and Grimlock. I say Swerve is probably the best guarded.
Yeah.
Rewind and Chrome Dome are guarding Roller. Sure wish we knew enough about Roller for him to seem like a good person. Velocity has Croc. Riptide has Fulcrum and Nickel. They're going to murder him. Magnus has Whirl, and Rodimus has Megatron.
Actually, I think Rodimus has the best defense.
Yeah, to be like, he won't shoot you, but you really have to get round him at least.
Yeah, he's a big lad.
Yeah, and you're on a small pointy thing. Anyway, everyone starts. Everyone goes to open the Matrix, and slight problem: no one can open the Matrix because Rodimus says, like, this should work because they're all good people. And Megatron says, yeah, they are good people because if they weren't, you and I would have a very different relationship. But me knowing that and you knowing that isn't the point. You can't open the Matrix unless you feel you are worthy. So if they can't open it, they need to be told what they need to hear. And then Rodimus basically leads. He sends a message out to everyone as they are getting slammed. Magnus's armor gets destroyed, like all his armor. Minimus, the smallest version of Minimus, gets out and is knocked the fuck out. And he said the message is, we are a very odd group of people. We are not the best, the brightest of our bunches. We're not the toughest. We're not the most capable of leaders. But what we are family. And you're all sitting there wondering whether or not you're good enough, and what you should be thinking about is that the person next to me thinks I'm good enough, and everyone hearing this thinks I'm good enough, because if we didn't think that way, we would not have made it as far as we did. And as he's saying this, everyone is starting to open their matrices. Misfire helps Swerve, who got his arm knocked off, but he opens it. Nautica managed to pull hers open. Lug is very excited to be doing it. Ratchet is very excited to be doing it. Whirl gets absolutely demolished, but manages barely to open his, as he says, even Team Whirl. Tailgate opens his, and the last but not least is Rodimus, and as he's about to do it, his arm gets blown off. Megatron grabs the Matrix, tries to open it, but no matter, as they say, it's not about what other people tell you, it's about how you see yourself, and Megatron has, shown that he doesn't see himself as ready, shall we say. He doesn't see himself at the end of that journey where he sees himself as a better person. But Rodimus, being Rodimus, just takes the Matrix off him and uses his teeth to open it. And as they do, the hotspots light up and the Functionist Council are blasted the fuck away. And Fort Max confirms that there's a message in Cybertron. The sparks from the hotspots, because I'm assuming that these are like coming to life with new people. Some of them are coming together to send a message, one last message from Rung, which is don't forget me. And yeah, we wrap up. Fort Max explains he had a message from Rodimus from the future, telling him to come back and hit Primus in the back of the head. So presumably Rodimus will send that at some point in the not too distant future using the Warren. And then Tailgate asks, okay, so we found Cyber Utopia, we found a new Cybertron, we found everything. Are we done? And Swerve says, not quite. And that is the end. That is the end of the quest. Andy.
Yep.
Putting aside your vehement feelings about 23, how does 24 work for you in isolation? Define
It's fine. I have a big issue straight off the back. Mikey.
Yes.
If a moon hits a giant planet, does it act like a ping pong ball?
I think one of them might go smush.
Yeah.
If I'm realistic.
I think,
But angles, Andy. It's all about angles.
No, it's
it's got an engine, so they know if they glance at the right angle, they'll bounce off. It's like a slingshot effect. You ever see the slingshot effect?
I remember seeing this and was like, what kind of horse shit is this? I've never seen anything more stupid than a moon bouncing off something.
To be fair, we have seen a cartoon where a guy literally grabs a galaxy and hurls it like a frisbee.
Yeah, they kind of established that was horseshit bollocks, and they were just like, we're going epic and going home. This is meant to be taken seriously. Gurren Lagann was not meant to be taken seriously at that point. You know, as one guy's using a universe to run across.
Oh, that was a weird fight.
It was. This is utterly stupid, and not in like a good way. Like this, coming straight off of the last issue, I see this and I'm like, you're fucking joking. Mass has no worth of value. Like it pings off with nothing. That like if they'd even said there was a force field around the planet to protect it, I would have been like, that's still a bit on the bollocks side, but at least it gives some kind of reasoning rather than ping. Here we go. Oy, that was
Just
pretty
think
bad.
about, was there anyone living there?
I don't know.
Like, there's cities there, so... I thought, did that, like, wipe out Keon and everyone's dead now?
Who knows? It's not
That
explained.
would be amazing. They go on to, you know, they've got their new planet Cybertron, which, spoilers, they'll need. And they go on and it's like, wow, we're home. I can't wait to see Keon. Oh, no.
Yep.
Oh... That was like that when we got here.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it'll be answered in issue 25 or not, and it won't matter. The Rung turning into a pile of dust seemed a bit silly since it's just, oh hey, Rung, he's the first Transformer. I bet there's something interesting to be said or done with that. Nope, he's gone. Done.
Glasses are still there. Why does he need glasses if he can regenerate? That just hit me, like, as I was looking at the picture. It was just like, but he can regenerate literally everything. Why was he wearing glasses in the past?
I would also say for the artwork there, I'd say that was not well handled. The way I would have had that is I would, you know, the page where it shows like Rodimus opening the door. That should have been the last page on a second page, the last panel on a second page.
Yeah.
So then you turn the page, and the first thing you see is that panel where it's just a room full of dust.
Yeah, those Matrix panels are too big.
Well, it's not even just that. It's just like you want that page reveal, so you turn and you go, oh shit.
But that's what I mean. Like if the Matrix panels were smaller, you could have fit that panel without really making any changes. You could have fit it into the page before.
Yeah,
and then you'd have had your oh shit.
You'd have thought so anyway. What was the other thing that really annoyed me? Because was it in this issue or the last issue? Oh yeah, art wise, I had to look at the page where Rung was remembering the Skids thing a few times, and I was like, why the fuck is Skids alive? What the fuck? Is this in the past? And then I looked, and the only real indicator that it was in the past was there was slightly smoothed out corners. That was it.
Hang on, did you... Well, the colors are slightly different as well.
Barely.
Did you have a feel? Did you, like, wonder why Skid said something appeared from the roof and just grabbed him?
Yeah, I thought it was fucking weird. I was like, but he's dead. Why is he back? Like, you say the colours are different. It's the slightest difference.
I would have... Okay, I kind of wish that had happened now. Just Skids had come down, grabbed him, and pulled him into the ceiling. We're not doing this.
This is me.
We're doing something.
This is me taking you to die. What? It bad. It was a terrible indication of that was set in the past.
Really needed to be at least grayscale it.
Yeah, something as simple as just doing it in black and white or desaturating it. Just having slightly smoothed out corners is not enough to at least for me to go, oh, that's obviously in the past. No. I'm sorry.
I'm really
no.
aware of the black background they were using in this issue.
They did go all in.
I think it's because the white borders are very distracting to me. Like, it's weird. It's weird.
Kinda,
now I've noticed it. It's weirding me out, I have to admit.
Yeah.
But
the rest of the issue at that point was basically the slow gunfire while everybody's dying, but are they going to pull through in the end? Kind of somber music kind of sequence. That's what's going on. If this was TV. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. And
this is structured like a television show.
Yeah, and I wasn't a big fan of the "Don't Forget Me" at the end. I thought that was cheesy as balls, and not in a good way. I think it would have been nicer if there had been like a message on everybody. There was a computer screen that had it on or something. Like he'd send a message to everybody or something like that, rather than the planet saying "Don't forget me." I would have liked it if it said "Don't forget me" and the next panel said, "How did we do that?"
Who's Rem?
Yeah, where did we get all the matrices from? Oh no, not who's Rem. Don't do that. Boo, Rem, best girl.
Who's Rem, Andy?
Best girl. Season 2's not going to be fun.
Oh god, everyone's gonna die again. But I don't know. I guess I have an image of that computer screen idea, and it was like everyone like, okay, right, we need to navigate down to the planet, reset the screens. I can't. What? It won't reboot. And then they all crash. Rung killed everybody.
Oh man, it's the 2000X virus.
Any other thoughts?
It was just fine. Maybe it's because the last issue annoyed me so much. I'm sure I was meant to feel inspired during this part, but I didn't. That one of the things that worried me in the previous issue was when it was like the morality lock, and then it was Tailgate. I was like, yes, the person who beat to death on numerous occasions the person who loved him. That was
okay.
that was
they
fine.
loved each other. It's fine if he ripped him in half that one time.
They luckily kind of sorted that out here, where it was like, it's not actually if they're good, it's if they think they're good. And I was like, that's disturbing, but fair enough, because that means that any psychopath could do it.
Yeah,
Farmer could have done it easily.
Because Farmer probably thinks he's great.
Oh,
yeah, Farmer did think he's great.
There's no way that Farmer wasn't like impressed by his own junk. There's no way that he didn't think he was worthy. Just
standing in the mirror.
Yeah.
Long, lingering shots.
Yeah. Like back in the day, Megatron would have thought he was worthy as well. So there's, that morality lock is fucking dumb.
Okay, so I'm more positive on this issue, but I will say the morality lock is especially dumb in this case because I don't know why it's here.
No. Was this just introduced, or was this a thing that was in the previous?
No, again, it's one of those things that was laid down, but what I mean is, like, the original Matrix morality lock, so no one could use it unless it was used for the right reasons. Right. It was found by Optimus Prime in the middle of a thing. And he used it and turned into, that works. That works narratively.
Yeah.
You're about to open 12 Matrixes in a very short period of time so that you can save the universe from a gigantic monster. Why did you make it hard to open?
Yeah.
Why? Rung knew he was dying, and he was just like, you know what? I don't like any of you.
Fuck them.
Fuck them all. Yeah, you can open it if you're decent. If you're not the kind of asshole who shoot my head off, yeah, open away. If you're not the kind of guy who drive into me and take my arm off, or the guy who killed loads of people and then asked me for therapy. Open away, it's fine.
Are we assuming that Rung did this on purpose because he assumed they wouldn't make it?
You're just like, I want you all to die.
Yeah, well, if I need to go, motherfuckers are going out with me. I'm going to ensure this.
I'm going to give them that one moment of hope. One little bit of hope.
You're right, though. I never even considered that, like, why was this put on?
Rung
I assumed it was like a stupid blueprint, and it was just like, well, I guess I have to do it.
It was just like, Rung, have you considered not doing that? But it's in the prints. It says insert tab here.
Yeah, it's making a delicious meal for dinner, but one of the instructions halfway through is hit your dick with a hammer. It's like, well, I gotta do it. It's in the instructions.
No, it's a ready meal, and it says make sure to kill your own chicken. And you're just like, but it's the ready meal.
Kill that chicken you love.
I'll kill the chicken, but I think I just need to put this in the microwave.
Nope.
Kill the chicken.
Kill the chicken.
But yeah, I like this issue well enough. In all seriousness, like, there's the planet thing didn't bother me because it's just like comic physics. I've seen dumber things. I've seen dumber things.
I don't think
Wally West got shot with a gun.
That's not an excuse. That can't be an excuse just because
it's not an excuse, but it means that I don't get worked up over it because, again, Wally West was shot with a gun.
I've got expectation. I want it to be better than just well.
Well, someone else is doing something.
Yeah.
The actual execute, because most of this issue is the execution of the Matrix idea.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it all in all. There's a lot of relationship stuff in here. Like, obviously people are flipping out over some of these scenes, but like I would read Ratchet and Drift as like saying, "I love you platonically too."
Oh, so yeah, I wondered if like, are they gonna kiss? Are we gonna have another couple?
Everyone. The thing is, I can't see Ratchet in a relationship with anyone. Because Ratchet lives for Ratchet, ultimately. And Jeffrey Combs don't share.
The thing is, like, I think it's legit a thing that people would think about because every other character, if they sneeze around each other, it's like they're gonna, they fucking.
Well, to be fair, I know for a fact this led to some sort of minor war between people thinking he should be Rodimus and people thinking he should be Ratchet.
Hello, Mikey John.
thought-
I respect your opinions. I think what you say is very good to me. Oh, they fucking now. Oh, they fucking. I don't know.
Oh dear, but
Come on, that has some relevancy here.
Yeah, but our Brainstorm and Nautica holding hands, which I don't know if this is just me not knowing what love is, but I just saw that as two people who thought they were going to die, going like, "I love you, buddy. I love you, buddy. You lying prick. I love you too, you engineering dick."
I think it would have been better if he held the briefcase. And Nautica held the wrench.
Oh no, he's reaching for her and she's just talking to her wrench.
I love you, wrench. I love you, briefcase.
Don't you look at my wrench.
My whore of a wrench goes round and ties everyone's nuts.
Oh Jesus. But I like the concept. I liked Rodimus' speech quite a bit because one, it does sum up why this crew, when it works,
Yeah.
and it sums up how much Rodimus has changed because, hey, the guy who got on that ship could not have said that speech.
No, agreed.
The guy who got on that ship could not have even started reading the speech off of the teleprompter. So it's a good sign of character development for him. I love the Megatron bit. For such a small bit, I love the fact, Megatron couldn't open it because Megatron kind of hates himself.
Yeah.
And you can't feel you're a good person when you think you're a bad one. No matter what. There's been a little conversation going on Twitter on how I interpret Megatron in terms of redemption and atonement. I think he can be redeemed, but he can never atone. Just to sum it up. And I think that comes across here. He can't make good what he did, so he can't open the Matrix. I think that's really good. I like that. I think that's a good bit of writing.
Oh, you needed, instead of Rodimus opening it, you needed Rodimus to tell Megatron that he's a good person and that he loves him, and then Megatron looks at him dead in the eye and says, "I love Ultra Magnus."
No, he just looks at him like, "Rodimus, I like you as a friend."
and the fandom explodes and says, "Rodimus, best boy."
Rather than Rodimus, irresponsible prick we all kind of like. Which he is to me. Yes. He will always be that to me. And the Don't Forget Me, I didn't mind. I thought it was kind of cute. Not cheesy, but I thought it was cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the only real downer I have, one thing that I found distracting was the art, unfortunately. Brendan's art has never really worked for me. I didn't mind it too much the last time he came in for Lost Light, but combining his art style with trying to emulate Jack's art style...
Doesn't work.
Didn't work for me. I think I'd prefer it if he played it just straight like himself. When Casey came in, he basically just drew as Casey.
Yeah.
Little softer in places, but still was mostly Casey. When EJ Sue came in, he added his own take in it. This felt more like working to rote. Something I haven't liked about Lost Light overall is that when an artist comes in, they're working too hard to emulate someone else's style.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned this a few times on the show, and it's been rare where it's actually been pulled off and it comes across as like, oh, that's good. No, that looks good. Most of the time, I think we've been like, oh no. They're trying, but no. Unfortunately.
And honestly, something else. If you were going to bring in a guest artist for this, I know he was probably working his arse off at the time, but I would have rather, for this, because Andrew came in for the last one, for 24 of Optimus Prime, which we'll get to soon. I would have had Alex in for this, or at least I'd tried to get Alex in for this. I think it was very important that he did come in for this, because I think he really should have been more involved in Lost Light. Just one issue was so bizarre to me. And one issue that wasn't that important at the time. But yeah, so Andy, rating.
It's going to be higher than it was for the last one, luckily. I still wasn't that impressed by it. I still didn't think it was amazing, but I was like, okay, at least it's better than what I just read. So I'm happy to give it a 4 out of 10, because I hold at least some kind of science fiction to a point. I don't want to see planets bouncing off of the back of giant things and ignoring what mass is. I'm sorry, that is stupid. Also, the cheesy thing at the end with the "Don't forget about me."
Don't you?
Yeah, that's what it should have been. It should have been Rung
forget
walking off
about
with his
me.
trench coat, pumping his arm into the air.
Or that Futurama one with the the bloody clover, the lucky clover from Futurama. That should that was a great episode, by the way. If you haven't seen it,
It was, yeah.
Futurama, fucking good show.
Yeah.
Better than Rick and Morty. Fight me.
Went on
Bite
longer,
me.
to be fair.
Better than Simpsons. These days, not hard, but better than Simpsons. So yeah, my rating, I'd say 6. A pretty solid 6. Some small problems. There's nothing in here to really go like, wow, this really bumps it up. But the art was competent enough, even if I didn't like the style and I had some problems with it. The major plot points worked quite well for me. There's some padding. There's some stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense in the early things. I now can't get it off my head that Rung is just this, like, in his dying moments, Rung just felt like being an absolute prick.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of like this interpretation of Rung better. Like, this guy, he's just been lovely to everyone for so long, and he's just had enough. You know? He's just had it. And it's like, you know what? Fuck y'all. Like, that should have been like one in the dust. It should have just said in one place, I never liked you, any of you.
It's Terminator going into the lava, but not throwing up the thumbs up, but giving the middle finger as he goes.
Oh man, oh man. Or no, it's kind of like DBZ Abridge editing the wave from Vegeta into a finger.
Yes.
Yeah. Without the fatherly connotation of that. But yeah, that's Last Light. One more issue to go, and
thank
we're
God.
gonna Andy, be nice.
No,
I liked a lot of it.
I haven't.
We're going to talk about that at some point. I haven't decided how I'm going to approach the summation of The Lost Light and everything else, but we're going to talk about that at some point. But we're moving on to Optimus Prime. It's issue 23, written by the John Barber. Art by Priscilla Tramontano, colors by Josh Burchin, letters by Tom B. Long, edited by David, and published by Greg. And this follows on from last issue, which was broadly summed up as Bumblebee came back, Optimus is kind of not happy with himself, Jazz got captured, everyone's going to die, Slide's a prick.
Yep.
Moving on, we're going to open with strong evidence that Slide is a prick. Because we flash back to Division 6 months ago where we see the native divisions, because it turned out there was a whole population here. There was a whole society of organics who look like little pig squids. And the pig squids are reading a story from their ancient times, which was, we weren't great, we weren't terrible, we lied, we fought, we killed, we did bad things, we did good things, we were people. And our future was our own. And then a gigantic calamity of death fell from on high. And that calamity of death was a dying titan who crashed into their world, and according to the native division stories, the creatures that it released saw the lushness of the world and took it as filth. They looked at balance and saw only weakness. They looked at us and saw nothing at all. And the newcomers were undying creatures, and they remade the land in their image.
Yay! Our heroes!
Our heroes, ladies and gentlemen, the divisions, who so far Slide's been kind of the worst, but you at least sort of said, I don't like her, but I get where she's coming from. That's going away now, and will get progressively worse as these stories go on. Because fuck Slide. Meanwhile, back in present day, Spike's a dick. Going from a prick to a dick, because Jazz is chained up. I'm sure that will hold him. And Spike is just like, yeah, your friends abandoned you, holding you prisoner, like it should have been all along. And Jazz is just really tolerant of his bullshit.
Didn't you have like Cybertronian tech? Yeah, you killed a cop. Even though he had a gun, you killed him.
You just murdered Scrapper with acid and dropped the building on him.
That was different because he's an alien.
Yeah, I like Talon's face as he's walking away, like, yeah, you're under G.I. Joe jurisdiction, and Talon's just like, yeah, I don't like you. No one likes you, Spike.
No.
But Jazz is like, listen, you're happy to have a go at everyone. Prime has problems, but he's trying to do best for all of us and save it from Marissa Fairborn. I was introduced to having sex with a lady. Ergo, I'm better than you.
And running
He
out
was.
on her. Don't
Yes,
forget that part.
in a mind-locked living person.
That's right.
Your hero, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Nostalgia. And I like the Transformers, issue 17, 2009. But yeah, Trypticon is now outside Mount Rushmore. No one's happy about that. Flint is especially not happy about that because he's having a full-on flip-out.
Yeah. This
just
is the
like-
comic of assholes, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a comic of good people being screwed over by arseholes.
Yeah.
Mainframe's there, and he's just like, I kind of dig the dino. High Tech's there, and he's just like, Flint needs to calm the fuck down. Strafe Slug and Marissa are all just like, listen, bad stuff is out there. Bad things are happening. You're being invaded. We help. Get over it. And Marissa is basically telling her dad to shut the fuck up because he's being a dick. Because Marissa is cool. But then she's like, a bunch of new people are showing up in Skylinks. And she asks if Slug is summoned in help, and nope, that's Optimus Prime's crew. And Marissa is a wise woman, because she's like, no one knew you were coming. Maybe we should... Flint wants to give her a lecture, and she's just like, cat, not the time. But don't worry, because the colonist soldiers have appeared.
Yay.
And we find how Slide views the world. And this was where the last ounce of sympathy for her went out the window. She sums up the vision. The native animals were brutalized by hunger, by violence, by disease. They needed us. My forebears remade the civilization, and we were born from our twin sparks, and Euler was like a separate part of me. And then the Prime came and destroyed everything, taming a wild world. He made me think we were going to do to Earth what we did to our world. And then bad
I'm actually
people...
surprised the second page on that the second from the last page on that panel isn't Euler like stepping on the pig squid.
What we don't see is foot come down.
Yeah.
That poor little pig squid. But then Euler was killed by vicious aliens, and now she's alone, and life is horrible. And you're literally a racist.
Fascist.
Fascist racist. You're a fascist.
Yeah.
Because what for context, what she's saying is we're introduced to these people who's saying like for them Cybertronians basically made their lives hell and saw them as less than animals, and her thing is I saw them as less than animals, and I came to this planet to treat their less than animals, and I don't get why Optimus keeps talking to them like they're equals.
And she thinks Prime is the fascist.
We'll get to that.
We will.
Oh. Meanwhile, she decides to pick a fight with the Dinobots.
Wise.
I should note, they hold back a lot in this for most of this fight.
Wise.
Yeah. We're gonna save Jazz because the Prime will abandon his friends, but we won't because Unicron's coming. Flint orders the G.I. Joe to get involved, and yeah, the Dinobots are just basically really annoyed by the amount of kids they're having to deal with. And Slide's just a prick throughout, just like held off the humans and their pets. Those are the Dinobots, Slide. If they're following the Prime, they're enemies as much as humans are. And just like, saying those are the Dinobots should be said in the same kind of tone as, that's a nuke.
Oh, that's the DJD. Oh no.
Yeah, you don't pick a fight with these guys. Mainframe and High Tech run to a Jeep to try and get some help. Marissa's trying to call in some backup, but unfortunately, backup has an agent they're waiting on. But it turns out Wreck-Gar's listening in, and him and Rummage are sort of musing on the nature of Cybertronians and the fact that Unicron, the black hole, everything else is coming together. And they decide maybe it's time for someone to add a bit of extra perspective, and Rummage decides to hop on a Sharkticon and ride into the sunset. And we now get Jazz's perspective on things, that they came to Earth to help. He wanted ultimately to do good in the world. Unfortunately, because he was the first one here, he feels like he is directly responsible for first the Decepticons and then the Autobots and Earth being what it is today. The Devastator, the lives he's taken, the lives other people have taken, he puts everything on himself.
If only he knew about Shockwave.
If only he knew.
Then he'd know, no, this wasn't your fault, buddy. This was always going to happen.
Yeah.
Causality.
But Spike is like, you don't need to try and get involved, because I'm Spike. Yeah, I've got you chained up. And Jazz is like, you use regular chains, dude. And he's just like, this is my problem. I'm standing up and I'm solving it. I've got to help you. I've got to help Cybertronians, and I've got to stop those kids from doing something really goddamn stupid. Talon, being a reasonable individual, is saying like, why do you need to take this on yourself? Like, they're the ones doing this, not you. And Jazz is like, the only reason any of this is happening because I was here first.
Kids are retarded. Grunch.
Kind of. Kids are dumb, and they need an adult to tell them to stop picking fights with guys who killed them in half a second if they were trying.
Yep.
These folks are too inexperienced to really get it, but I know what it means when Cybertronians decide to call a place home. And there's a lot of complicated connotations to that. Meanwhile, we cut to Gimlet, and we get a bit of his thing, which appears to be him, Bump, and Longrack trying to murder some sort of horse cow things, which are probably the native intelligent life form of their planet.
Are they trying to murder them?
I'm assuming it's murder just because of the connotations of this issue so far.
The problem, the reason I ask is because they kind of suggest, or at least he suggests as he goes through his own dialogue, that they respected the local natives and kind of felt a relationship to them because they were kind of based off them.
But maybe they're hungry.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, so Gimlet has always found Cybertron especially, but also a lot of Earth odd, because for them, everything's nature, everything's nurture. They are very much a wood and biology society. He came over because Black Arachnia and told him and other Eukaryotes what was happening. Optimus came, and the sight of the Prime, and he was like, a Prime showed up. It doesn't matter that it always lies. Bump and I, we had to see this. And they just stood up and volunteered just on the spot. And then we cut to Gimlet making a mistake, which is he's being shot by Mainframe and High Tech, and he just yells, "Stop shooting me," and slams a claw down. And High Tech makes it out, but Mainframe has been severely impaled. And what makes it worse? This is the second time Gimlet's nearly killed Mainframe.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was first strike. He slams his hand down and nearly squashes Mainframe.
Oh man, Mainframe should have said this same asshole.
But that asshole who instantly like, oh god, I didn't mean to. He gets to learn what it means to be fighting the people he's fighting, because Slug has decided he crossed the line and slices him in half. Dark
Souls, bitch, backstab.
Yep. Slug has had enough of your games. And we then cut to Mainframe. Mainframe, part of G.I. Joe for a long time. He was in New York back in the day. It looks like that's when Devastator was taking the place apart. He was trying to help people. He could save one person. He couldn't save someone else. And he blamed the Cybertronians. He felt they were all the same. He confronted Optimus. They meant nothing to him. Until he realized, as he puts it, he thought about the finger on the trigger. Metal or skin, the blast would kill the same way. And then he got to know some Cybertronians. Specifically, he got to know Soundwave. And he basically said, the reality is that we're all just people. And these are just strangers. They're people I haven't gotten to know yet. And he, as Soundwave was learning basically the same lesson, which is probably, narratively, it's probably one of the reasons they bonded. Unfortunately, we cut to Mainframe now, and he's barely able to hold on. He's just saying, like, don't let them ruin this. Like, no matter what, we're all in this together. Skylynx is trying to get back at Slug as Bump and Slide are going like, oh, Jesus, oh, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And, but Slug does make a point. Killing is killing, Skylynx. I don't care if they're kids. They killed Mainframe. And then Slide, as Jazz is telling her, you're all acting without thinking, you need to calm down. Slide just, it was a rescue mission. Oh god, this was never meant to happen. And instead of taking responsibility, she then decides to blame Slug by saying, you're the same as Optimus Prime!
Well, of course, it's not her fault.
No,
why would she take responsibility for her actions?
Yeah, she's not a prick.
Nope.
But then we cut to Slug, who's like, I'm nothing like Prime. And, it sums up the Dinobot philosophy. They feel that they were a weapon used by the likes of Optimus Prime so that he can keep his hands clean and the dirty jobs can get done. And let's be honest, there's a lot of truth in that.
Oh, yeah. They were the dirty dealer guys. They were their DJD for the most part.
Yeah. They were brought out to point, shoot, and kill.
Yeah.
But then he says, like, after everything that happened, we found Trypticon, we found the new Sparks, we found a family, and we did what we did after that because we had a reason to be better than the people we were. We didn't have to be those guys anymore. And Slug is brought down to Earth, and he deeply regrets what he did to Gimlet. But at the same time, High Tech is desperately dragging Mainframe, calling for a doctor, and Marissa has to tell him that Mainframe's gone. And Flint's a dick. Because it's a, see, I told you, not the time. Meanwhile, Strafe is basically really trying hard to talk an ounce of sense into Slide.
Yeah, not Wrecker.
Yeah, and when really she could really wreck her, and as a reader, I'm kind of like, just rip her arms off. She doesn't need them. She'll be fine.
Yep.
And she's like, why did you join these butchers? You're from Caminus. And it's just like, oh my god. And just to add more, Rummage and the Sharkticons show up as she's waving her husband's head in the air. Oh, I love Rummage and Wrecker. Spike and Flint decide they want to pick a fight. Strafe is just happy to have a chance to kill something that's not a child. Slide's a racist prick who's just like, kill Junkions. And Jazz is just like, for everyone, shut the fuck up. No one's trying to murder each other. Right, Rummage? And Rummage is like, I never said I was going to murder anyone. And we find out a Sharkticon is named Vajra.
Why did the Junkions actually appear? Because that was one of the things I couldn't figure out while reading this. Did I miss something?
They came basically to try and help, but it all got kind of wrapped up in what happens next.
Okay.
So I think the implication is they were going to be like, hey, there's more of us than you. Everyone put your guns down and shut the fuck up.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Marissa and Rummage share a nice hello, including they're both working on their languages. Flint is being a dick. Slide flips the fuck out. And unfortunately, before anything can really be settled, in the skies above Trypticon, Unicron has appeared. And that's issue 23. Andy.
Yep.
Thoughts?
Okay. Kind of unnecessary. Like, this doesn't, like, for adding to the Unicron kind of end of the world thing, which Lost Light didn't need to worry about because it takes place well beforehand and is not connected at all. This doesn't, to me, feel like it really adds anything to it. I don't think it was meant to, but I was reading it going, okay, this is... I wasn't really invested in the thing that really pulls me down is how bad the artwork is for this issue.
Priscilla's... I actually think Priscilla's work has taken steps back in places.
Yeah, the human characters are clearly anime, but it doesn't really work. And I don't know whether it's the coloring, but in a lot of panels, everything just kind of mushes together and becomes a mess where I don't know what's really happening. Proportions are really bad. Like, on the Junkion pages, Rekgar's head changes size dramatically. From each panel it's in, it's the shape of it is all over the place. One of the panels where the Slide's team and the Dinobots are fighting, and you've got Swoop in the foreground fighting the other lady car from Caminus. That's
Roulette, I think.
Yeah, Roulette. That's very hard to tell what's going on there. There's a lot of panels or pages where I just looked at it and didn't know what was happening. And the only reason I did know was because I had it on, guided view and was just looking at it for a while going, what's happening? Is this
Her
happening?
action scenes need a lot of work. Also, like, some of her layouts really don't help. Like, in the one where the colonists are showing up, Slide and Midnight Express are really close to each other, but they've got very similar colors.
Yeah.
So they blend into each other.
Oh,
like,
where was Midnight Express? Was he there?
Yeah, he's on the left.
Is he? Oh, shit, yeah. Wow, yeah, I could barely tell he was there.
But what that needed is for Midnight to be at the back, because he's one of the biggest ones, and have the three colorful ones behind Slide.
Yeah. Wow.
That would have worked a lot better, in my opinion. The Dinobot ones as well, because a lot of the colors blended together in those big fight scenes. They just feel like shoving matches. They don't feel like action scenes.
No.
And like I was picturing this done by Kay, and I think that would have worked. Like, her art style would have worked well for this.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think the colors are overall a little too bright for what they're trying here. Like,
Yeah.
I think it needed to be a bit deeper.
Yeah. I think that, like I say, doesn't help for making characters stand out desperately well next to each other, just because everything's so saturated, it just kind of mushes together into a bit of a blur. But the story was, again, it didn't wow me, and you going through it made it make a bit more sense to me than when I read it, where I was just like, it was a bit, there was a bit more to it than on a first read, but it was still just kind of, it's fine. It's just awful people. Awful, terrible people. If Slide doesn't get digested slowly by Unicron, then John has made the worst decision.
I don't want anyone to die.
I do.
But I will not shed tears if she goes.
I think Slide deserves to be done.
What, like if it had been her instead of Gimlet?
No, it would have been too fast. She is.
She's a terrible person.
Yeah.
This one. I don't know if I'm supposed to be reading her this way, but she's a terrible person.
And there's not enough issues to give her some kind of decent redemption arc either.
But it's like I didn't like her before. I thought she was a self-entitled prick, but I just thought she was a self-entitled prick.
Yeah, this issue really hammers home how awful she is.
And this issue and the next one especially, it's just like the two of them combined, it's just like, wow, you're just an awful person, and Euler's probably better off dead because he doesn't have to listen to you.
Unless Euler was awful as well, and we just didn't have enough time around him to know. But I mean, this issue kind of cements home that this might be the character I hate the most in the IDW universe.
What about Spike?
Oh, that's a good question.
They're in the same book as well.
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, I'll specify the Transformer character I hate the most. You know, Spike takes the cake for human douchebag, but I think Slider
takes the cake, takes the shop, takes the recipe, everything.
Has sex with the cake baker.
Then has sex with the cake and then tells you to eat the cake.
Yep, eat the cake. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. I actually really liked this issue.
Okay.
The art was not like Triptychon, especially looks bizarre. Like, he doesn't look like he's G1. He doesn't look like he's updated. He looks like a weird Godzilla Grimlock.
Yeah, basic, I think, is maybe an interesting way to put it.
There's some definite art issues, but I love the story on this.
He looks like a Zoid. That's what he looks
like.
Oh
my god, he does. Like one of those really early ones.
Yeah. Sorry, it just struck me there. Just looking at it, I went, oh, it's a fucking Zoid, Jesus. Or if you wanted to go down the Power Rangers route, a bit like Serpent Terror.
Yeah. Yeah, oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ultimately really like this. I love the little vignettes. I thought that was really nice, even if one of them made me want to punch a character. Mainframes was great. Gimlet's was interesting. Jazz's, I thought, was a great little insight into him. Slugs, I thought, was, again, especially for people who haven't been reading the side books, I thought that was a great little insert. The action was messy, but that was the art's fault, not the writing. The writing's there. The interactions were fun. I like the fact that none of this made me doubt the characters I'm following. Like, this didn't feel like it was playing the, listen, everyone's got a point card. This felt like a bunch of very chaotic children showed up, made a situation worse, and Jazz is running around being the adult, trying to calm everything down for 5 seconds. And, you know, they picked a fight they shouldn't have picked. But yeah, I don't really have a lot to say on the issue. Just, it's a very straightforward issue for me. I thought I enjoyed everything. I really like Mainframe. Like, I've been enjoying him in this book whenever he showed up, so I did have a little, like, oh, Mainframe moment. Not as much as someone else did, but we'll get into that next issue. No, honestly, I really, really liked this one. I thought it was a very well put together issue that was really only hurt by some art problems. Like, Priscilla's art style can work in some stories, but even then, I am critical of her for her proportions and things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Andy, let's wrap this one up. What's your rating?
I actually want to throw it out there. I think the Brendan's artwork was better than this issue.
Definitely more cohesive.
Yeah, I could tell what was happening a lot of the time. I couldn't most of the time here. So I'm going to give this... because it is a visual medium, and I think art is very important, I'm going to have to put it at probably a 4. I think it really brings it down, as it confused me a lot of the time what was going on.
Okay. I am still very much a writing kind of guy, so for the narrative, I'd give it an 8, but for the art, I will drop it down to a 7. but I'd still say this is a good issue. Okay. Anything else you want to add to this one?
Why does it look like Unicron has stepped in dog poo at the end?
Why does he have the luscious lips?
Yeah.
They're very lush.
No.
Those are Overlord's lips. That's what happened to Overlord's lips.
He stole them.
He stole them after time travel. Right, but in that case, we will move on to Optimus Prime issue 24, which is kind of the coming together of the two major plot points, because part of this issue takes place concurrently with Unicron 4, so word of warning, we will be spoiling some stuff from that issue. So,
I was actually confused because I was like, what the fuck? Why what?
But this issue opens up with Chuckles from G.I. Joe being given the choice of choosing love or choosing other things.
I'm pretty sure
love.
I'm pretty sure this was legit taken from the Cobra trade.
It was
the main character. It was just changed slightly. Yeah.
He shoots her, and obviously, like the dialogue is a little different.
Yes.
But
I like
he chose
that.
love.
But it confused me because I couldn't remember it that well, so I was like, did they just steal the page and put it in here? And then it, you turn the next page and it's Thundercracker. I'm like, oh, no, it's probably not the same. I can't remember, but it's probably not the same.
No, this is Andrew's art. It's just like redrawn. But yeah, it cuts to Thundercracker, who is editing his movie to say to JJ Hackensack, and is apparently living in Hollywood now.
Yeah.
Should he be editing his own movie? Is he Michael Baying?
Well, why not? He's a robot.
I don't know, 2-time film
labor.
director. But yeah, Buster starts barking a lot, and Thundercracker's a bit weirded out, and he looks out the window, and there is a giant hand sucking up parts of LA. That's not good.
Fair play, dog. Fair play.
Fair play, dog. And he's just like, Buster, get your leash. We're needed. I love this boy, and if anything ever happens to him, I will find you, John Barber. I will find you. And then we cut to concurrent, which is Optimus in Zambia, and talking to Slide and saying like, okay, so what happened? And Slide blames everyone but herself.
Ugh.
And she basically says, because of you, everything that's gone wrong and everything that's ever happened is your fault, and it's your fault, Gimlet's dead, not mine, for dragging him into a situation he didn't want to go into. Yours. And Optimus, because he's an unreasonable adult, is trying to point out that there is a gigantic monster in the sky that wants to murder us all. Can we focus? And she's just like, oh, she's an angsty teen. She's just like, oh, everything's going wrong, and now you're a regular guy. Ooh, we're all too small for Optimus Prime. Ooh, and he's literally going, the universe might die. I am not trying to diminish the horrible stuff that's happened, but we need to focus on what's going on above us, which is a giant hand the size of a planet. But Optimus is just like, listen, tell me what happened. And she says she made a choice. Like you. You made a choice. I didn't make a choice. I'm right, you're wrong. We cut to Prowl's ship, and he's confused by the fact that Unicron basically hasn't destroyed the planet yet. Star Drive is suggesting that Unicron is doing what she'd do as an outsider, someone who's not really understood by any of the races she's a part of. He's basically waiting for everyone he wants dead in one spot so he can do it at once. So we'll see about that. But at Mount Rushmore, after we're flashing back to Slide's time, the Mexican reporter that Jazz knew has shown up, and she is looking for a story. Spike and Talon tried to deal with her. They're asking who she is, and Jazz describes her as one of the long list of opportunists he's had to deal with, because she is not the nicest woman in the world. No. But he's basically saying, but to be blunt, they have as much, it's your planet, people need to know, and need to know what's going on, what happened here and what's happening above. And Spike backs down, but says once action happens, they're gonna, start dealing with it. And Unicron, what is it, Jazz says, relax, we don't need Unicron to mess ourselves up, as we see the remnants of the battlefield, as it looks like Swoop is trying to comfort Slug, and Bump is holding Gimlet's body, and Slide is standing next to Gimlet's legs and probably blaming them for what happened. The president is on the phone to Marissa and is giving out to her. And Marissa looks like most people would feel in this situation. We find out that everyone's on full alert and they're waiting to deal with Unicron. Jazz tells Marissa what's going on. And we find out that 1.5 billion Transformers have shown up in Africa. And we cut to post-Unicron 4, where Metroplex, the colonists, the Alonians, everything on the planet, including some Turbo Foxes, which shocked me, are standing in the African sun. And Optimus kind of sums it up and says, tiny magical creatures saved us. When Blade's like, okay, when you say it like that, it's fine. I don't know if everyone made it. It'll take weeks to sort out. Don't worry. We probably only got hours. Starscream is Starscreaming. Aileron is threatening to punch him. He goes to threaten Aileron, and then you just hear from the corner, Starscream, don't. It's RC just staring at him. But yeah, Doc is not happy. He has sad dog face. And oh look, Andy, Sea Spray. Sea Spray's there.
Oh good, one of the best characters has survived so far. I'm pleased.
Blue and White Swoop is also there. Is that supposed to be Fractal? Or Oh, that's supposed to be Transmetal to Pterosaur. Or Transmetal Pterosaur. Oh, that just hit me.
Huh.
The colors. The body's different, but the colors are the same. Soundwave interrupts Windblade and Optimus and basically tells something weird is going on in the United States, and it doesn't sound good. Optimus assumes it's serious, and an angry teenage voice, not so serious that you actually came.
Oh my god.
Gah. And then Optimus calmly, as this is wont, everyone from Cybertron and the colleagues had just escaped absolute death. I was needed there. You send your acolytes. And an Elonian, which bothers her because she's a racist. A Decepticon and RC, who I hear has some secrets of her own. And if you delve into them, she's going to cut you in half. Kind of want to see that happen.
Yeah.
Rom, Soundwave, and RC show up. Slightly awkwardly hovering over Gimlet and Bump. Soundwave asks Skylinks what the hell, and Skylinks is like, nothing good. And unfortunately, Rom updates Jazz on the situation, the destruction of Alonia and the destruction of Cybertron. But as RC says, don't worry, it gets much worse than this. Soundwave lets everyone know what happened. The colonies are gone, everything's horrible. Flint is losing control no matter what Marissa says. And Slug comes in and says, like, listen, you're all complaining about your planet. Well, we've got children here who are being born inside Trypticon right now, and this is their planet, and we are not letting anything happen to this place because this is their home. My child is not growing up without a home. And we see Sideswipe, Sandstorm, and Centurion inside near the hotspot. But then Slug goes, but you murdered Slug. He was a kid, not an ancient war relic like you. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm Slide. My brother's dead. It's very sad. Rom, again, adult, comes in and says, like, okay, everyone's here now, no matter whether they're Cybertronian or not. We need to get on. Flint then goes off on one, saying, like, you don't know Cybertronians like I do. They kill everyone, soldiers, friends, nothing good. And then we remember our psychic is around, and Soundwave's like, I don't like how you phrased that. What else happened? Who else died? We cut the Thundercracker, world's greatest hero, saving Clark Kent and Lois Lane, it appears, from a falling building.
Why wasn't this a comic series?
I don't know. Thundercracker saved the world?
Yeah.
It kind of is every now and then. We cut back to it a lot.
I mean a full, at least one shot.
What, like a mini series of Thundercracker on adventures?
Thundercracker saves the day.
Thundercracker tries to propose to Marissa every issue, but has to go save the planet. But yeah, he's Thundercrackering, and a cop comes up and says that they're getting a signal through their phone. And Soundwave has learned of Mainframe's death. He's not taking it well. He is basically having an attack, or a seizure, where his feelings and memories of Mainframe are being beamed into every living thing within radius. And unfortunately, that's not fun to hear. And, like, Soundwave... Yeah, RC is kind of trying to beg him to stop, as literally everyone is trying to hold their ears together. But he's just so distraught. And Slide's just... turned out Mainframe was a friend of Soundwave. I didn't realize the degree he thought human beings as being... like us. Oh, you racist motherfucker.
Yeah.
But Wreck-Gar realizes that there's more going on here than just someone in pain. if the world can see this, Cybertronians will seem like they will look human for the first time in possibly ever. And the reporter is still recording it, and Slime flips again because she says like, the Junkions, the filthy, stinking Junkions, thought sort of hijacked a lot of signals and beamed out the signal Soundwave because look, they feel pain. We should all stop fighting. Oh, it's abusing Soundwave, and Optimus is like, okay, it worked. They're listening to us. And then she flips out and says, you're using Soundwave, you're using me, you're using Euler. And Optimus basically says, yes, I do use people. I am a leader. That, unfortunately, no matter how much you care about people, that is what leaders do. Sometimes they have to use the people around them, even if they care a lot about the people around them. But yeah, she's just like, oh, I should pity you because you've never felt the bond I had with Euler. And yeah, and Optimus, very adult, says, sometimes feeling isn't enough. But you said it was my choice. Get into this. What choice did I make? Meanwhile, back at Mount Rushmore, we flash back, and a ship pops up out of the Earth. And it turns out that Goldbug brought the ship down, but he didn't realize the planet was made of dirt and accidentally teleported inside the planet.
Whoops.
Garnak's not happy. Prowl comes out to the usual welcome of Prowl, get back in your fucking ship.
Fuck you, Prowl. Hey, Jazz.
And he points out that, hey, we've got big problems right now, and we need to deal with them. And Slide basically says, the choice Optimus made was that he didn't make the choice to do what she thinks he should do. And that means that he got what he wanted, because every living Cybertronian, every human, every Elonian are all following your orders. Bringing people together because of a shared enemy is literally fascism. No, it's not.
When I read that line, I was like, I want to check the definition of fascism, because I was like, I'm sure this is not right.
Yeah, and remember, this is all born from the fact that she says this is what ALLLLLL really means. This is all born from the fact that he's not doing what she wanted him to do from the start. Andy, what did she want him to do at the start?
Oh, I can't remember. She was just
commit
being an
genocide.
Asshole. That was
she wanted him to murder every Junkion, which was something fascists literally did. They committed genocide. You're a bad person. You're a bad person. Jazz tries to lighten things up by saying she's really got your number, and Optimus, yeah, she did. I was joking. Not being there is not making a choice is still a choice, Jazz. He apologizes to Jazz for the situation he's been left in, and Jazz said, like, for the first time Cybertronians have a family and a future to worry about. We need to make sure they have a future at all. And we end on, kind of two of the pillars of this series, Optimus and RC standing together. And Optimus, Optimus feels very old, and RC thinks he's very young. Slide wants Slug arrested, and she, again, is saying, like, this is not the time for this. And Optimus is musing on the fate of Cybertronians, and then he says something I think he's wanted to ask for a very long time.
Why is Slide such a bitch?
Can I hit her? I could beat her in half with one hand.
I'm slightly dismayed that no one, like, Prime didn't get RC to beat the shit out of her. Because I honestly think she needs it, especially with what's going on at the moment. It's like, perspective.
Especially with that crack about RC as well.
Yeah.
Fuck you. RC's awesome. Did I lead us down the wrong path? Was Pyra Magna right about me? Was Pyra Magna right about anything? Also an asshole, but not to the same degree.
No.
And RC gives a very honest answer, which is, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't fucking know.
All we can do is try to love who we can and understand who we can't. And Optimus, I don't know if love is enough. It may not be enough, but it can't hurt. And to sum this up, the last couple of pages are people being with those they love, whether it's their partners, their pets, their lost friends, their family, a giant dinosaur they're comforting themselves by sitting on top of, your ex who just keeps on kind of want to murder everyone, your talking robot friend, your dad who just won't put the gun down. And throughout this, Optimus is reflecting on the legacy of the Primes, the Despots, the Legends, the 13, and how he always thought he was different. And now he's not so sure, as he stares up at Unicron.
Unicron with a word bubble saying, am I special to you, Prime? Is that what we're saying? Do you love me?
see you down there.
I'm confused. What's happening?
Who are you talking to? She's gone. But yeah, that.
No, I like that. Who are you talking to? You talking to me? I can hear you.
But yeah, that's. I'll eat you. But that's the issue. I forgot to say, art was by Andrew and Sarah.
Yes.
Colors by Josh and Andy. I would say artistically an improvement.
Oh Christ, yeah, way better art. I was able to tell what was fucking going on. You know.
But yeah, so this is this is the issue to wrap up those last plot points, which was what's going to happen with Slide. What's going to happen with Slide is that if she lives through all this, she's going to bugger off and do Slide stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And no one will wave her goodbye because no one will care. Because she's a bad person.
Do not try and redeem her. She is unredeemable.
Let her die.
Like it would be forced if they try and be like, "Oh, Slide was only doing what she thought was right." I'd be like, "No, don't do that, Sean."
And I can see him doing it, but he'll do it in an issue where he kills Thundercracker as well.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? You Slide is giving this hero moment, and on the page behind, like not even on the page behind her, just in the back of a panel, you just see Thundercracker explode random. He's not shot; he just blows up.
Slide needs to be Guldu cutted.
Oh my god! Yes. But yeah, what's your thoughts on the issue?
Better, more interesting. Thundercracker, always a joy. If you want me to hate Slide, John, you're doing a hell of a job. You're really doing a hell of a job. You know, wowzers. I kind of wish there was more focus on RC. I kind of wish.
Yeah.
I mean, again, for a series called Optimus Prime, there's not enough Optimus Prime, and in my opinion, not nearly enough RC. RC is the best, apart from Thundercracker, the best thing in this series.
I'd say Soundwave is up there, but I would say
no. Yeah, I
take
forgot.
RC.
It's because Soundwave didn't do much this issue. He just had a cry, which is like fair enough.
Just out of crying, everyone's just like, Soundwave, you got it at like 10. We need you down at like 6.
It's just the thing from Friends where they go,
Oh dear. What we needed for this was audio, which was just Soundwave's having a breakdown. Cut to Soundwave. Just this constant scream.
Oh, Soundwave, always so dramatic. Remember Rumble or Frenzy?
Soundwave, who died, really?
Come on, bro.
Mainframe's in his hand and his body just like falls apart in the middle.
The Soundwaves vibrate him apart. Well, I guess he's getting buried at sea as poor Mainframe. Not an open casket for him. Whew.
Oh dear. Anyway, the issue. You thought it was better.
I thought it was better. Yeah. I enjoyed it more. It was okay. It wasn't too bad.
I enjoyed it about as much. It's got it's a lot more vignette-y it's very clearly broken up, but I enjoyed the character interaction. I enjoy hating Slide, which is that's what put her ahead of Spike for me, because I don't think for most of the run you're supposed to hate Spike.
Really? No, that can't be true.
I don't think Mike Costa wanted you to hate Spike. I think he wanted to be like, and then at the end, it turned out Spike was kind of a prick.
That's really worrying if that was the case, because he's such a douche.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting that the colors for this, Josh changes his style depending on the artist. He goes with a very sort of heavy line work when Sarah's drawing, but when Andrew's drawing, it's much brighter colors, much more like what you'd see in RID.
It did throw it off a little bit, I think, because it did feel very different when you turned to that double page spread, and it was like, oh, this is very different.
That was the one that threw me off.
Yeah.
That was the one that threw me off. But no, overall, I thought it was good. There's not a lot to say in it. It's a very straightforward issue.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun read. And this and the Unicron stuff has really cemented it for me. This is my favorite version of Optimus ever. I'm including animated in that, and I love animated. But
it's almost not fair though to kind of do that, because we've had so many issues with these guys versus a children's cartoon series.
Yeah, but I'd also say compare the Optimuses that followed that children's cartoon series and how much that children's cartoon series was better than the Optimuses that followed in other children's cartoon series. But I've heard a lot of complaints he's flawed, he's not the leader he was, and I'm just like, He's not. That's what's
Yes.
great about this Optimus. He is a person. He has a sense of humor. He has a sense of drama. He doubts himself a lot. It's actually something people used to like about the Marvel stuff. But he is human for the first time in a long time. Optimus Prime is a person first and a figurehead second. And I think John does not get nearly enough credit for his work with him. Anyway, I can't add anything else. Andy, what's your rating?
I'm going to give this a 7. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. There was nothing that irritated me about it.
I will say a 7 as well. The story, I don't think the story was as engaging as the last one, but the art is much, much better.
Yep.
So it all bounces that. I think for me, it was about as good as the last issue. A good solid 7. And guys, that is the end of the main show. We will be continuing on with the Unicron issue 4 and 5. Hopefully my voice will hold out till then. If you want to hear about those issues, you can sign up to our Patreon on patreon.moonbase2 for just $2 a month. You get extended version of the comic show. You get extra shows like Moonbase Woo Woo. We've got a Halloween one coming out. And you get anything extra we do 1 week early, including interviews and other nonsense like our IDW retrospective. The next one is coming up soon. It is going to be the Mike Costa era. Help me.
No
Help
God.
Me.
Only
I
pain.
also have to do the miniseries, plus Last Son of the Wreckers, minus that book.
There's a lot of stuff in that, isn't there?
That book.
Which one?
I'm not saying the name.
Oh!
If I say it, it will appear on a desk in front of me.
No!
I have a horrible feeling.
It was your first podcast, wasn't it?
One of the early ones. But if someone defends it to me, the people on there, you know who you are. If you defend it, be prepared for venom.
Is it Charles? Is it Charles
No,
that loves it?
no. I don't know if they love it, but if they do love it, I'll hate them forever. But yeah, you can also contact us via email if you want to send us any comments or questions or anything else. The email address is themoonbase2@gmail.com. We've got Twitter, which is moonbase2. Just keep in contact, guys. Tell us what you think. We love hearing from you. If you're on Patreon later on, if you want to leave us any feedback yourself, you can do it over there. Andy, anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. You can find me on Twitter as CCTFW, on YouTube as Cobra Commander TFW, and you can find this podcast on YouTube as well under Moonbase 2 Transformers Podcast. And I think for the most part, you covered the rest of the stuff, Mr. Mikey.
Okay, in that case, guys, we will talk to you soon. And if you're on Patreon, stick around because it's about to get planetary.